okay?
Yes.
My name is Lillian Stringer. I'm Director of Public Relations for the Tampa Housing Authority, and it's my pleasure to serve as your Mistress of Ceremony for this monumental event today. We'll begin by recognizing some special guests. I recognize Saul Ramirez, who is CEO and Director of the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. Would you please stand, Saul? And our National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials President, Preston Prince, is also here with us. At this time, I'd like for all the Tampa Housing Authority board members to please stand in your presence. You're here. James Cole, Billy Griffin, Ruben Cabot, and Robert Schindler. Thank you all for being here. Okay, right now, Father Caliste Niambo will come forward to give us the invocation.
I used to work at this parish here of St. Peter level. Several years ago, I actually left for another parish in 1997. Before that, and during that time, there was the Central Tampa, Central Park, this area. People who lived here, some great men and women, children and older people. Today we stand on their shoulders. For them we give thanks for the work they did to prepare life for all of us as we move into these new buildings and new homes. I want to pray at this time with you and with everyone for the Tampa Housing Authority, for the work you do, for the wonderful preparation of a new place. May God bless your work. May God reward you. And when you move from here, do somewhere else, so we may continue to be blessed. I want to offer a prayer for the ones who are moving into these buildings, into these homes. They are very different from what I knew when I worked at this parish of St. Peter level. But it's not the buildings only, it's the people. We pray for them. We pray that God may build a residence among them, and God may guide them and give them the joy of having a beautiful home and a beautiful place. I pray for the people who worked here to prepare this place. The builders, the ones who did the grounds, and the ones who are still doing some work. May God be with them and God guide them as they continue to work for the good of others. And if you pause for a moment in your own mind and thoughts to remember someone who has been involved in this project, and you pray for them. Most Holy Father, we the people of this town, of this neighborhood, this area, we thank you for the grace of providing us a place to call home. We thank you for the work done. We ask you to continue to bless all of us and bless those who will come after us. We thank you for the generosity of money and other good means provided. And as we go from here today, may we continue to give you glory and praise. We ask this in your holy name, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Bianco. I would be remiss if I didn't just introduce to you our speakers today. Starting over here on my left, Digna Alvarez, representing Senator Bill Nelson's office. Chloe Coney, representing Congresswoman Kathy Castor's office. Mr. Frank Reddick of Tampa City Council. Dr. Hazel Harvey, Tampa House Authority Chairperson. I don't know your name, sir. Julius Davis, you're with the City of Tampa. Okay. Bob McDonough, City of Tampa. Ed Uzansky, Hillsborough County Housing Finance Authority. And Bill Gady, Bank of America. On my right, Mr. Robert Schimberg. I already talked to Father Nyambo, mentioned him. Robert Schimberg, who is the Tampa Housing Authority Vice Chairman. The Honorable Mr. Topley, Poet Laureate for the City of Tampa and Hillsborough County. Victor Juan.
We're going to get there. One of those Puerto Ricans in that office.
You know what? I was thinking that. Jose Centron from HUD Miami. Ms. Alicia Scott Ford from HUD Jacksonville office. And Victoria Thompson, who is a resident. She'll be speaking to you. You will hear from all these people this morning. What is that to do? I failed to mention Jerome Lyons, our CEO.
I'll have a conversation with you later.
And this young man over here is who? Jerome.
Just again.
Thank you, sir, for being here with us. Now, may we have a round of applause for all these people? May we all please stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And here to bring us a project overview this afternoon is Robert Schimberg. Please come forward.
Thank you, Lillian. And on behalf of my fellow board members of the Tampa Housing Authority, I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone and thank you for being here. It was my responsibility today to give a project overview, and I kept thinking for the last few days that meant talking about the bricks and the mortar. But then when I heard the father say that it's really not about the bricks and the mortar, it's really about the people, I had to change everything I was going to say. So I'm going to start with this, and then I'll get to the bricks and mortar. When I got here today, I had the great pleasure to be introduced to a family that had lived here previously on our old property, and they said they moved out and they're the first residents to move back. And they told this great story of how when they moved out, their son was in middle school, but it was important for him to stay at Blake High School, and so he would take 2 buses to go to Blake High School every day, on the way there, on the way back. They said their son was employed at Busch Gardens. Through the Housing Authority, he got a computer and assistance with college, went on to go to University of South Florida and graduate, and I can't think of any better example of how well this entire development is working. And Mr. and Mrs. House, if you're here, I just want to recognize you and thank you for the great sacrifices you made. I know it's on here earlier. There she is, so thank you. I hope I didn't steal your story, Mrs. House. So now on to the bricks and the mortar. And I remember having been the longest tenured Housing Authority board member with Dr. Harvey. It's either a good thing or a bad thing, Dr. Harvey. We're not sure which. But I remember 10 or 12 years ago when there was a meeting and we sat with Jerome and with Leroy and with others, and somebody asked the question, what's the vision for the ENCORE project? And Jerome and Leroy both said, well, if the ENCORE project works, then many years from now, we'll have a mixed-use, mixed-income development where we have all market-rate construction, and the residents, the jobs, the units, everything will be indistinguishable, they said, if it works. Well, I can tell you, Jerome and Leroy, congratulations, you've done a great job, and it's working, because today with the grand opening of the trio, I'm proud to tell you that of the 141 units that were officially opening today, 42 of them are market rate units. Those are actually the first units that leased up, and they leased up like that. So, congratulations. Well-executed plan, just like you designed it. And on the heels of the market rate units, we're quickly having units lease up from our project-based Section 8, our public housing units. And I think Leroy told me earlier today we're 70 or 75% leased and hope to be 100% leased and occupied in the very near future. Well, with regard to the plan that they had, it couldn't have been executed unless you had very committed partners to make it work. And we think about the primary partner for the ENCORE development and for the trio, and of course it's Bank of America and Bill Gady, and he's right over there. So thank you all very much for everything you've done globally and on the trio. But to make the trio specifically work, that the Housing Authority and Bank of America had to assemble a group of funders. And just like the project, they wanted it to be very diverse. They assembled 14 funding sources. I know a few of them are represented here today. Again, Bank of America, the Hillsborough County HFA, Ed Buzansky, and some of his board members are here. Bob McDonough, the City of Tampa, who was another primary funder of ours. 11 other funders made up of public and private entities who provided actually the $28 million that went into land acquisition costs, development costs, and construction of the 3 trio buildings. And then you say, well, what about with regard to the actual bricks and mortar? So, Father, I did get to the bricks and mortar. Of the $18 million in bricks and mortar, we partnered with Core Construction, and I believe they're here today, who's done an excellent job for us. Thank you all very much. And they had the same commitment as the rest of the partners in this development. And their commitment was to make sure that they brought in a wide and diverse group of members of our community to actually build the building. And so of the $18 million in construction funding, I want to say approximately $3 million of those dollars were devoted to minority-owned businesses, and another $2.8 million were devoted to Section 3 based businesses. So again, that accounts for around almost 40% of the funding from a very diverse mechanism of partners who helped us to build this beautiful trio of buildings. But that wasn't enough for our partnership of CORE, of Bank of America, CDC, of the Tampa Housing Authority. We wanted to make sure that the people who worked on the project also represented our community at large. I think there were 42 new jobs that were created, 42 construction jobs to help build the project. Of that, about 20% of those construction jobs were from the Section 3 program, and about 60% of those jobs came from our Youth Build program, which I'm most proud of and excited about, through the Tampa Housing Authority. So Jerome, Leroy, and I see people, in the audience like Ed Johnson, and former board members who's been involved, and Debbie, and so many other people that have had such a big part of this project. The trio has accomplished exactly what you set out for the trio to accomplish. And I thank all the partners, from our funders to our builders to those that had the vision for this. And primarily today what I do is I welcome the residents of the trio to your new home. So thank you for working with us, and have a long and happy life in your new apartment. Thank you.
Next on the program will be James Tokley to give us the trio.
Good afternoon, beloved. Of all the things that I am, as well as poet laureate, father, grandfather, I'm also a Sunday school teacher. And several Sundays ago, we were talking about what happens when the Chinese plant bamboo. And it touched me because it said they plant the seeds, and they water the seeds, and the first year nothing happens. And they continue to plant the seeds and fertilize for the second year, and nothing happens. The third year, nothing happens. The fourth year, and then all of a sudden, the fifth year, as if overnight, the bamboo shoots up 80 feet tall. And that reminds me of what we see here. We planted a seed. First year didn't seem like it. Second year didn't look like it. Third year, and now look what we have. So for some of you, that is also a lesson to attend Sunday school. You never know what you'll do. To live inside the note, the trio, and we in a city where music was born and was nursed at the breast of a blues guitar, shall build 3 high rises in sound and form for the orphans of Central who've traveled afar. Trio, we'll call them, high rise and in tune from first floor to rooftop, resplendent and new. Made up from the stuff that created the moon, that rekindles a new day that's long overdue. 3 sisters with bright eyes that welcome daylight, and in darkness of evening let lullabies in. Adorned with gardenias in holiday white, like a blues song blossoms in a soft Tampa wind. And in these 3 towers, a tenor shall rise, a baritone voice shall bring tears to dark eyes, while a proud bass will rumble way down in his throat, and a world will be humble to live in the note. Or perhaps midst this music of stucco and steel, 3 young girls intent with the mystery of sound will recover what Motown discovered was real, as a new trio, supreme and renowned. For what in great encore this trio beholds is a noble attempt at a rebirth of souls, is a dream, if constructed in loving reform, will jazz the creation of a Basie reborn, where children who play here will someday reveal a rhythm and blues to the music they feel, in the echo of trios whose names we could list, but the list would grow endless in the broad morning's mist. Instead, we shall ask that you keep them in mind, whose music was gospel to a world that was blind. And when you move in, from the first to the top, remember the trios with their timeless doo-wop.
That was excellent, thank you. We will now have remarks from a resident of Trio, Victoria Thompson.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here. When we moved out 8.5 years ago, there was a vision, and I'm glad that Jerome Ryans and GTE and Bank of America and all the other partners shared that vision and ran with it. Because when we started, we were at the bottom, now we're at the top. Okay? I'd like to also thank my property services department, Barbara Lee, Miss Rosa, Miss Lucy, everybody, they were wonderful with the relocation, and they kept in contact with us to make sure that we stayed on our little track that we had, that they had set out for us so we can advance to where we are now. Also, Barbara Lee, my son who graduated, has sent him through the home ownership program in case he would like to buy a home. Even though he's only 23, you know, he still might want to purchase one. And I'm glad that the weed is going up because my other son is working over there. Thank God for that. And I also wanted to tell Jerome So Jerome, the board, all the people here who work for Tampa Housing Authority, all the residents, this place is amazing. Tampa is going to be the next big city, believe it or not. They are moving forward into the future. And if they go on to put the ferry on the water, they'll be very good. Have a great day.
Like another feel like to say, hey, like when it be done in London, I can't hear nothing.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll go ahead and follow the program. First speaker to give remarks will be Jose Cintron, HUD Miami.
Thank you, Lillian. That's what it's all about, right? So I'll tell a little bit of a personal story. So as a 4-year-old boy living in East Harlem, New York City, my family was one of the first families to move into the Washington projects. We called them projects back then. I still call them projects, even though we're told not to call them projects, because it has this negative connotation. It never had a negative connotation for me, because when I moved out of the old law walk-up tenements that were built in the 1890s in New York City and moved into a brand new Tower in the Park public housing unit with elevators that worked and no furry friends scurrying through the halls, it was the best thing that we ever did as a family, and proceeded to live 20 years in public housing. As our family grew, I did say I was Puerto Rican, as our family grew, we moved from the Washington projects. What's up, Wentz? We moved from the Washington projects to the Stanley Isaacs projects, which were just being built. See, my mother was an activist, and when she went and said our family's larger, we need a larger apartment, they said, well, we'll put you on a list, and when a 3-bedroom apartment becomes available, she said, well, we got those buildings just going up. There's lots of empty 3-bedroom apartments over there, and threatened to go to the press if we didn't get moved in, because it was in a slightly upper scale neighborhood, which is one of the great things about public housing. It can be built anywhere. And so rather than have us go to the press, we went there, right? So about 10, 11 years ago, I'm fully ensconced in my job at HUD, in the Miami office of HUD, and I come here and I visit Central Park with Jerome and his crew. Everybody here remember what Central Park looked like 12 years ago? So we walked the grounds and we talked to families and talked to a couple of single mothers raising children, and proud folks doing the best that they could do. And I'm saying we got to be able to do better than this. And we talked to some elderly residents who thought this was the best that they were going to have for the rest of their lives. And I said, we got to do better than this, because I've been in better than this in public housing. And luckily for those folks in Central Park and other developments throughout the Tampa Housing Authority, the vision of Jerome Ryans and the board and the chairperson of the board today was around back then too, was to make this happen. To take Central Park, and they were doing the best they could with Central Park, right? With the limited funds that HUD would provide. I had to say it before somebody else did, because Jerome was saying it. So they had the vision, but lots of people have vision. Lots of people have dreams. It takes a vision to start you off, but it takes a lot of hard work to make that vision become a reality. And that hard work has been, obviously has yielded this kind of fruit. And it does my heart wonders to be able to stand here and say 10, 12 years after what I saw then, to see this here. And I celebrate with all of you, and I hope that the families that move into this building have the same kind of security, feel the same kind of security, have the same kind of success that the families that lived in Washington projects over almost 60 years ago almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to exactly tell you how old I am. But so that we could become people who could come up here and give a little 3-minute speech at this lectern. The families that move into that, their children, those folks that are going to college and owning a home at the age of 23. When people talk about public housing is generational, yeah, it is. 23-year-old owning a home, another person going to college, that's generational. That's generational advancement. That's what that is. And that's what public housing gives folks an opportunity to do. And all the bad stories about, oh, it's, you know, it's the worst of the worst. No, no. We have low-income people. We don't have poor people. We have rich people with low incomes. And we have every opportunity before us. And with the kind of support that you get here, with the kind of living environment that Jerome and the board and the crew have created here, back in America, all the other partners that have participated in this, there's hope for every generation that lives here. So let's celebrate, and I can give up the mic now.
Thank you, Jose. Well said. In order to keep me from having to jump up and down, we're going to follow the program with the next speakers. Alicia Scott Ford, Digna Alvarez, Chloe Koenig. Let's follow along, please. If you will stand on the ready.
Good afternoon. It is certainly good to be back home. In fact, I was born, yes, I'm glad someone else heard that. I was born right up the street, and I actually lived in Central Park as a young girl. The Central Park Projects, as they used to call them, as a young girl when I was 2 or 3 years old. And I grew up in that church right across from here. At that time, it was Allen Temple AME Church. So I'm glad to see some of my Allen Temple family here today. But this is a great day, a wonderful day to witness the power of partnerships. So often, we as organizations work in isolation and do not realize how important it is to gain power from partnerships. I think it's very symbolic that the name of this development is called TRIO. And I as I sat there, I started thinking about what would be significant about the name in TRIO. And for my religious friends, I'm not talking about the Trinity, but I'm talking about the power of partnership, one, when people come together and work together. But I'm also thinking about the power of people, people being diligent, people putting themselves aside and looking and working towards the greater good, people sitting down at a table together and saying, what can we do together opposed to me and my piece of the pie and what I can do for my personal gains. So TRIO represents the power of partnership, the power of people, but even more importantly, it represents the power of perseverance. And we have seen and witnessed through the activities of not only the Housing Authority, the City of Tampa, as well as the other private partners and the banks, we have seen the difference it makes when you persevere and you keep pushing when others say no and you don't have enough money and it can't happen and the zoning isn't right and the right people aren't at the table and we're not doing it for the right people. But when you have people that come together and say, no, I don't care what people are saying, but I'm going to persevere and make sure that this development goes up or this partnership moves forward with their efforts. So give all of yourselves a hand for a great outcome. Seeing the power. And I'm hoping and I'm sure that when you have people coming together that are willing to persevere, who are willing to partner and willing to work together, we together create a pathway for the residents, a pathway for the little boys and girls that will be living in this place, a pathway for mixed housing income so that they can have role models and see the things that other people are doing so that they can be exposed to greater things in life that will lead them to a greater life and a greater way of living. Thank you once again, and I hope that through these developments we can recreate the music, the history, and the business that was once in this area. have a great day. Looking forward to meeting and talking to many of you, and looking forward to developing even more partnerships in the city of Tampa. Thank you very much.
You're going to like this because we're joining forces here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Digna Alvarez, and I'm the Regional Director for U.S. Senator Bill Nelson.
And I'm Chloe Coney, a woman that wear many hats. I'm the District Director for Congresswoman Kathy Castor.
Yeah. You read that help.
Miss Chloe to me. On behalf of Senator Nelson and Congresswoman Castor, we'd like to congratulate all of you on this very momentous occasion, and
We'd like to let you know that our bosses are working really hard in Washington, D.C. They are the ones who've been fighting for the Neighborhood Choice Program, which brought in $38 million, the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. And if they were here, they would say to Tampa Housing Authority, Mr. Ryans and Ms. Harvey and all the board members and Bank of America, CDC and all the partners, that they are proud of you. And we like to have this partnership, and to all of the families, we want to say to all the families that are going to have safe and affordable housing, we thank you. We bless Tampa. Tampa's blessed today. Am I right? Come on, y'all. The preacher got something. We are blessed here in Tampa. So on behalf of our bosses, thank you so much. We want to be quick.
All right, Councilman Reddick, Representative Reed, and Julius Davis, you'll be ready.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon. I'm telling you, this is an exciting day, isn't it? It is a wonderful, wonderful day. I have to say to Mr. Ryans and to the board members and everyone else, you know, when I serve a great God that gives me vision, and I know that He had given vision to them. But at that time, I wanted to see something that I was not seeing. Today, I must tell you, I'm seeing more than I was pushing to see at that time. It is a wonderful, wonderful day to be here. I'm not going to speak long. I've been told by my city councilman to hurry it up. It's hot out here. I know it is, and I'm dressed. I'm looking at the suits and I'm thinking, wow. But you know, we know it's hot, so I'm going to sit down.
Thank you. There's a song that says it's hot up in here, and she's right.
Don't take the other line though.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to be brief, but I want to say thank you to the board of directors of the Housing Authority and staff and all those partners who made this day possible. Because when you look back at the past, and now you see the future, this makes you excited to be in Tampa. And this is a great, exciting day. And as we celebrate this day and all of this excitement, I want to share with you that on Thursday, you're going to share the excitement of another day. The Tampa City Council is going to vote on Thursday to move forward with the Perry Harvey Park. But we want you to know that it's on the calendar, and I do plan to move that motion so we get started. So this will be an exciting day here on Thursday. So thank you and congratulations.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am Julius Davis. I am a native of Tampa. Grew up here at Jackson Heights. I actually used to ride my bike over here when I was a kid. No knowledge of my mother knowing that, who's sitting in this audience right now. But that's a pretty good hike for a young kid. But I wasn't the only one doing that. But we had friends in this neighborhood. I used to go over to Saunders Library as well. Very familiar with this area, St. Peter's Claver School over there. So it's good to see a change in this area. I'm the president and CEO of Voltaire Consulting Engineers here in Tampa, locally owned and grown. We're up to about 27 people now, including Houston. So we're the engineers that actually design the buildings here in the Central Energy Plant. So we were fortunate to do that. But I'm here now representing the City of Tampa Planning Art Committee, which I am sitting on as well. There's a art that was put up as a mural over on the other side of Trio on the wall there. So I'd like for some of you to go over, and if not all, to go over there and check it out. It's a very nice mural, and it represents this area, the history of this Central Park area. The public art partnership at the Trio at ENCORE would not have been possible, of course, without Bank of America, Community Development Corporation, Tampa Housing Authority, Trio at ENCORE, as well as the City of Tampa Arts and Arts Program Division. Now, the mission of the City of Tampa Arts Program Division is to develop and facilitate free access to artistic excellence through programming and partnership. And this particular art piece is an example of that. I also want to recognize the artist who actually did this mural, which is Natalie Blake. Is she here? There she is. So Natalie was selected from a pool of other artists that also submitted to provide the artwork here. The selection of selecting an artist is very intense. Okay, it's meetings after meetings after meetings. It consists of a selection of art committees that's involved in it, with the city, Tampa Housing Authority, Bank of America, as well as local leaders in the community and business owners. On that art selection committee was Eileen Pope of Bank of America. Is she here? And I recognize her. Okay. And of course, Leroy Moore with Tampa Housing Authority. David Elonia, I just saw him. Somewhere. All right. David Smith with with Stearns Weaver. There he is. Okay. Brenda Donald. And Fred Hearns, of course, who's my friend and fraternity brother. All right. David Del Tosto, he's over there in the back hiding. David Del Tosto is with Baker Barris Architects. They're the architects that actually designed the facilities out here as well. Wally Wilson with USF School of Arts. Not sure if he's here or not. And then Abby Doran Ahern with the Doran Group. Okay. All right. And then, of course, I want to recognize the City of Tampa staff, who definitely works hard in setting up the meetings. They have to deal with not only the artists, but they have to deal with the art selection committee. So if you notice, all the ones who I announced as the art selection committee, trying to get all of our schedules together to meet at least once a month to select an artist for this was very strenuous and very, a lot of hard work. So Robin Nye is one of the, and then Melissa LeBaron, where is she? Somewhere. Oh, right there, okay. So that's pretty much it. Now Natalie's artwork is a 3-panel it's a 3-panel hand-carved ceramic mural that tells the story of the formation of the Central Park history. So if you get the opportunity, please walk over on that side and you get to see the mural. Okay, thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, I'm Bob McDonough with the City of Tampa. I'll be quick. I'm here representing our mayor, and I'm nowhere near as inspiring, so I'll make it quick. This is killing him. The only thing he likes better than the groundbreaking is a ribbon cutting. He's not here to do it. He's on the other side of the country shaking the money tree for money and jobs for Tampa. He'll be back soon. But Frank Reddick stole my thunder because in Trio we see the present and future of what was Central Park. The park is going to again bring back the past, and Thursday our city council will vote on that. Across the street we have a brand new Saunders Library rising from the ground. So again, we'll have a newer, better neighborhood than ever. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we have. And I think when the park is built, people are going to be amazed at what they see. And I want to thank my partners at the Housing Authority and at HUD for their work with this. And congratulations, and let's keep going.
Well, good afternoon. So back in February, when we were having the Reed groundbreaking, I talked about the responsibility that corporations have in the community to reinvest in those communities. And in your program, right in the center, it talks about ENCORE, represents urban renewal in harmony with a vibrant past. And it's really with that in mind that the Bank of America Community Development Corporation was formed to provide affordable housing, mixed income housing, and be that catalyst to spur other investments in our communities. And so now you fast forward 30 years, 32,000 units later, and you see that we are not only the oldest, we're the largest, and I think you could say we're the most productive bank-owned community development corporation in America. And so I know you know the piece of our being the co-developer of the Tampa Housing Authority of the whole ENCORE project. But the part you may not be familiar with too is that Robert mentioned in the beginning is the funders and the 14 funders that have to come together to make it all happen. And when you think of construction financing, the letters of credit that are necessary, and the investment in low-income tax credits, Bank of America, when the tempo is complete, which will be hopefully happening very shortly now, everything we're hearing today is all great news, and that's going to be happening shortly. Bank of America will have over $100 million in financing into ENCORE. So what's important there is it's the partnership of the Community Development Corporation side, it's a partnership of the bank, and it's a partnership of all our community partners that truly makes this happen. And back to the piece of what our responsibility is of investing in our communities, and that's it. Exciting things are happening in Tampa. Look around. This is amazing. Look at the crowd of people here today. It's warm out, and they're all here. They're a little crowded into this part here in the shady part, but it is fantastic, and there's a buzz in the air, and I know the mayor is definitely missing this because he loves this type of event, and he would be very, very proud of this. But I want to also thank James Field and Eileen Pope and Gurley Ortiz because they're really, on a day-to-day basis, they're the ones who are involved day-to-day, and I get the fun part being the one that gets to stand up here and do this piece. So again, thank you for letting us be a part of this. And we're very excited to see the next chapter as it continues to grow at ENCORE.
Hello, I'm Ed Brzezinski with the Hillsborough HFA. How are you all doing today? Hanging in there, I appreciate it. I'm just so honored to be here today at this opening. You know, you guys might be getting tired of hearing me speak, but this is actually my third time. I was here for the Ella, which is right over there. I was for the ENCORE, I was here for the Reed, and I was here for, you know, some other things. And now we've got the tempo coming. So I'm so happy to be here today and talk to you. It's just so wonderful because when I first came out here for the groundbreaking of the Ella, there was a lot of people out here, but the community, the people were missing. And what I'm seeing now, as the buildings are going up, the community, the people are coming, the people that these buildings are here to serve and what we are here to do. And when I hear all these wonderful people speak and talk about how they lived in Tampa, or they were part of this, or they were part of public housing, or whatever it was, and just to see how they've grown and you guys have grown, it just touches my heart. So we are so happy at the Hillsborough HFA that we could have such a wonderful partner as the Tampa Housing Authority and just be a small piece in what is a wonderful community that's going to keep on growing. And hopefully I will continue to bore you guys and come back next time when there's another groundbreaking, as it just means progress, and I'd love to see that. So thank you.
We're getting close to the end, but before we do, I have a few things that I need to say. First of all, we all know that before anything can be built, the groundwork has to be laid. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. Melvis, who did all his company did the infrastructure work for this entire project. So we can use the hand. In addition to that, it took a lot of planning on behalf of Tampa Housing Authority staff, and I always get docked because I don't recognize the Office of Real Estate Development. They have a marvelous team. Would you all please stand to be recognized? David and Gwen. And they are led by one of the greatest directors ever, Ybor Moore. Okay, at this time I'll have Dr. Hazel Harvey come forward. She's the chair of the Tampa Housing Authority Board.
Well, when you're next to the last person on program, everything that you thought you were going to say, everything that you wrote that you were going to say has been said. Although I knew that would probably happen. So one thing, I did not live in this area, but I did attend church and Sunday school in this area for probably 40 years or more. And I see many of the Allen Temple church members here today. And like to say to you, thank you for coming. And many times at breakfast at church, our church members, as we were talking about the formation of this area, they were telling me, oh, you're on the board, they're going to tear it down and it will never come back again. So to all of my Allen Temple breakfast people, we fooled you, didn't we? As I said, I did not live in this area. However, when my father passed away, we did live in West Tampa for a while. And my mother was a single parent after the death of my father. 5 of us lived in the housing project in West Tampa for a while. All 5 of us went to college. All 5 earned college degrees. 3 of that 5 earned doctorates. So you see, the project does have some citizens who really, the parents and their children, look forward to a greater life. I thought today, in fact I guessed everything that I was going to say had been said. So being an educator, I wrote what we called a name acrostic for ENCORE. E is for ENCORE, which means let's do it again. Tampa Housing and its partners have returned an area that was once, long time ago, the jewel of the South, who fell in disrepair, and it's back in a vibrant community, graceful again. N is for now. Now is the time. Now we have refurbished the area and we can enjoy this moment. Now we can look to the future and identify the next challenge we want to continue to improve in our community. And Mr. Reddick has already spoken about that. C is for courage. For those groups represented here, they communicated creatively for many hours to have what we see today. They left their comfort zone and dared to do something different. Their foresight and courage is largely responsible for this day. O is for organization. Through planning and organization, we set our spirits free. We set a new level of excellence. This project represents that new level of excellence and set forth a standard for future projects. R is for rewarding. For several years, we took risks, and the risks led to the rewards that we celebrate here today. ENCORE shows us the great rewards we can expect when we step out of our comfort zone through faith and take chances. E is for effort. Many individuals that are represented here, and we've already recognized you, organizations put forth great effort that has resulted in this occasion. So as I close, I'd like to say that it's a pleasure to have been a part of ENCORE and the efforts that we see here today. And a part of a poem that was written, when I finished college, really. Our college minister wrote, when the great scorer comes to write against your names, it's not what, I'm sorry. When the great scorer comes to write against your name, It's not whether you won or lost the game, but how well you played the game. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. You know how children are often at their best behavior when their parents are around? I must say that, I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but Jerome Ryan, you even see him. No, you hear him before you see him. But today, he's been awfully quiet, and I think it's because his master is here in the building. Patricia, would you please stand? This is Mrs. Ryan. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I really appreciate the hard work and efforts put forth by my staff, the volunteers who served on this committee, everyone who participated in putting this wonderful program together. Thank you so very much for all of your help. Latoya, you work hard. Walker Brands, everybody. Thank you so much. Now, final words, Jerome Lyons. He said it was getting hot, so.
Thanks for the tip. I don't know who came up with this deal at 2:30 on a July day in the summer. You got to do better than that. Let me also acknowledge my wife. I wouldn't call her my master, but I will call her my wife, and she does make about 90% of decisions around the house. Raise your hand, honey, again. And my three grandkids who are here from Houston, along with their father, who's sitting over somewhere, I believe. There they are, right there. And my oldest son, he finished law school and decided to become a principal of elementary school. I told him I wanted some of my money back. That didn't happen yet. He decided he wanted to work with young people. But let me acknowledge everybody in there, especially the staff. Leroy, come forward. Andy, where are you? I know he was here somewhere.
Andy!
Yeah, well, anyway, he was here. These are the two guys that I largely depend on. These guys, they get the job done. You know, they flat get it done, and I'm so proud of these guys because they stay busy all the time. And our office is open pretty much 10, 12 hours a day, including weekends, because we got a lot of work to do. We're just getting started. We are literally just getting started with some things that we want to do, not only in this community, but some other communities too. Let me also say to you that I've got probably, you know, and I've been in this business almost 30 years now, but probably the best board I've ever had, my board of commissioners. These guys make all the difference in the world. You can give them a hand clap because they're very, very patient and very patient. And they tell us what they think. Yeah, they're very creative. Let me put it like that. And they tell us what they think, and that's important. It's always good to have a group of people that will tell you what they think and how they feel. If they like something, they like it. If they don't, they tell you. And that's the way to do business. Also, let me also acknowledge Bank of America. That's our primary partner. Bank of America's been around a long time. It's been with us the last 10, 12 years. I mean, when the market was going south in real estate, those guys are still there with us. You know, when you look around, you know, I think about a song by Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson, "We Are the World." Most of you heard of that? I know I'm not predating myself, but most of you heard of "We Are the World"? Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson? No, I don't want to do that. It's not that I couldn't. I just really don't want to do it. but I want. But I want. When you look at this development, think about "We Are the World." When you look around this audience, that's what this audience represents. We are the world, you know, and we want this development to reflect that. We are the world. So when you think about ENCORE, think about "We Are the World." Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson. Those are the co-writers of that song. The other thing I think is important here too to realize is that while we are struggling and all of that, you know, we've been fortunate to have HUD on our team. These guys make it easier for us to do our jobs. Jose and all the people here from HUD, you know, one of the things I like about HUD, these guys anyway, you know, because they teach us and show us how to work through regulations to get things done. And that's important. You know, so that's a terrific partner. Bank of America is always a terrific partner. And our elected officials, I can't say enough about them, especially our congresswoman and our senator. You know, these guys are always there for us, you know, and I enjoy that because without those guys, we wouldn't be where we are today. we have to depend on them largely to make things happen at the Washington level, and they've done that. I want to also say too, I see Irene sitting back there. Those of you that don't know Irene, raise your hand, Irene. I'm gonna call you out. Irene and I, we've been working together for almost 16 years. You know, she pretty much knows me like the back of my hand. You know, she knows when I'm happy, she knows when I'm sad, she knows when I'm angry. But she's been there with me for a long time, and Irene, I want you to know how much I appreciate you and the work that you do. You know, I think that's important. And if it wasn't for the staff, I see you back there, West Cunningham. If it wasn't for the staff, you know, we wouldn't be where we are today. We all work together as a team. We see ourselves as a family. We care about each other. We work with each other. We get mad with each other. We make peace with each other. But we get things done in a very positive way in this community. We're going to make a difference and continue to make a difference in this community. If you look around here now, you know, sometimes I come in and I sit right over there and I just think about how far we've come. You know, and I wasn't sure about that at first. I knew we would get it done. I didn't know how long it was going to take. Now, when I got here, I didn't have any gray hair. I'll tell you something. So it's taken a long time. But we've been fortunate to keep our team together and work very closely together to get things done. You know, and I love these guys I work with. I work with them every single day. You know, like I said, we agree to disagree on a lot of things, but overall, these guys make a heck of a difference in this city. For those of you who don't know, they really, really work hard, not just here, because I've asked them to serve on various boards and do various things in this community, and they've taken on that as a task to get things done. So I really, really appreciate that. I see my fraternity brothers here. I see Jetty B sitting over there. You know, we get together for breakfast sometime on Saturday morning and just talk. You know, I see Fred sitting over there. I see Julia sitting over there. That's gonna make us our five till the day we die. You know what I'm talking about. I want to bring that to your attention. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I saw my council member over there. Yeah. Forget me, you gotta start wearing more purple and gold. But anyway, let me thank you all for being here. And when you get a chance and you walk through this building here, it's just amazing. The first time I walked through that building, I just shook my head, you know, how far we've come. It's 3 separate buildings, 141 units, 2 3s and 4 bedrooms. And it makes all the difference in the world. You know, we're fortunate enough to have people here that have made a difference in this community. And we're also fortunate to have, I want to say a little bit more about HUD here. These guys here, you know, when we have our issues and our problems, we can go to them, we can talk to them, and we can work with them. I tell my staff all the time, if you're going to get crosswise with HUD, let me do that. Don't you do that, because I don't want to mend no fences. And I want to talk about NARO, to our national organization. Stand up, guys. Stand up for a minute. These guys represent us at the national level. They make things happen for us. They spend their time in the congressional offices, the senatorial offices, you know, trying to get things done for us. And I want you to know how much we appreciate the work that you do. So again, thank you for coming out. And like I said, we won't do this again at 2:30 on a July day, you know, in that city. We know it's a little warm out here. But at the end of the day, it's all about the trio and what we try to do in this community. And to my staff, thank you